Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey Success Stories podcast. Today, we are super blessed to have with us Mackey McNeill. She is the founder of the CFO Collaborative, the Prosperity People, and Mackey. I'm super excited for you guys to hear her story today. So, of course, we'll be talking about her business, her journey to business ownership, challenges, and of course, best practices that she's had along the way and really have that sneak peek into how she made it to where she's at. So if this is your first time on the channel, please make sure to like and subscribe to get notifications whenever we have a new show just like this one drop, because you'll want to come back and listen to it from time to time. So Mackie, welcome to the show and thank you so much for being here today. I would love for you to give us a little bit of background of who you are, what you do, and the beautiful things about your business.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jen. It's wonderful to be here. And, you know, I can talk a lot. So I love it when people ask me to talk about my business. I always say I have two children, one physical daughter and a business. Actually, no, I have three businesses.
Yes.
But I'll just start with a little bit about my background. I would say that I think what's important about my background that relates to my business is I was born into a world of limitation. I was born in 1955 when women had a very specific path in what their life was supposed to be like. And early on, I would read the want ads. And in the South, the want ads were divided between white men, white women, black men, and black women. And I knew then that I didn't want any of the jobs assigned to my category. I didn't know how I was going to change that. And so my poor mother, she's like, learn to play the piano and learn to be a good hostess and learn to do this. And it's like, I want to learn about everything else.
Mhm.
And my dad, the other thing that really informed my childhood is my dad went bankrupt as a business owner. And that was sort of the story of my childhood. Fortunately, I had an aunt who was just a rock star, single woman who taught herself about money, and she sat down and taught me everything about money. So I started saving money from the time I was 5. I opened my first savings account, and when I would get a quarter from my grandfather, or I got a quarter a day when I took care of the neighbor's cat, I would walk down to the savings and loan and deposit these quarters into my savings account. And people think that savings, now that back then interest rates were 2-3%, right? So you think, what's the deal? It doesn't matter. I went to college on this money. I worked, I made $1.35 an hour, my first job as a camp counselor. I saved every penny I made. And I got through 4 years of the state of Georgia, between Georgia Tech and University of Georgia. And the last quarter, I had to slow down and take a job to pay for the rest of my college. So, compounding interest works even at 2 or 3%. So I'm living
Well,
testimony.
that was one of the things, as you were saying this, you didn't go to a community college.
Mm-mm.
You went to a very reputable, expensive college. And when we talk about saving $1 a day and how the compounded interest and the millions you'll have, I love this so much because it's a true testament of really, even if it's just a quarter, I don't care how much,
Mm.
just do a little bit every day. Okay.
Yeah, just
So,
just save a little bit. I always tell people that. They think we have a lot of interns at our farm. We live on a 35-acre farm, and they'll say to me, "How do you become a millionaire?" And I said, "You really want to know the secret of how most people become millionaires?" And they say, "Yes." I said, "They save a little bit of money over a long period of time," and they're like, "Really?" I'm like, yes, this is really true. So,
yeah.
so to kind of wind that story into how that fits into my business, I think I've spent, what I love about what I do is I help people break through their limitations with money, business owners and individuals. And I help now with my new business, the CFO Collaborative, I help CPAs really break through their limitations in terms of how they help their people, how they'll help their clients. And that every time I see somebody take on a new idea and I see that light bulb over their head,
Mhm.
personally, I just like get giddy. I mean, like this is why I do what I do. It fills me up, and I get so excited when I see that they are now beginning to think differently about their relationship to money, to finance, to helping people. And that is so, and that's, I mean, at the end of the day, how do we really impact others? It's not by giving them advice, it's by helping them change their own thinking.
Yes. It's interesting because, okay, my background is accounting. And yes, I did a lot of forecasting, planning, and analysis. But what you're taught in school as an accountant and trained, and then you come out and you have that analytical mind, it's a completely different animal because you're looking into the future, not in the past, and doing general ledger. And you still do some of that, but not near. And so let's lean into a little bit of that because once I switched into business ownership, I had to untrain my mind on a
Hmm.
lot of things that I know as an accountant to then be a successful business owner, especially when it comes to cash flow. So
Right.
I want, if you don't mind, talk a little bit more about the CFO collaborative and some of those trainings and what is this and what are all the cool things that you're doing?
Well, I'm training CPAs from all over the country to use the method that we use for fractional CFO services. We call our system at Mackey. So Mackey is a fractional CFO firm, and I have spent literally about 20 years creating the system that we use. And of course, I've gone through a lot of technology platforms over that time, and people think that's the answer. It isn't the answer, but I'll get to that. So I had this great CPA firm, and I knew I was doing all the CPA things, as you said, Jennifer, mostly focusing on history, tax
Yes.
law, how to change that, which is helpful, but it's not transformative. I wanted to see people think differently, make different decisions, grow their businesses, be more expansive. And so I began to experiment, and I started where I see some of the CPAs who come in the collaborative say, I'm already doing fractional CFO services. And I bet you what they're doing is they're taking their historical financial statements and they're putting them maybe in some graphic form, and they think that's the answer. And I'm saying, that's not the answer. That's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the foundation. And you can't help a business owner. I had one of my collaborative members said to me the other day, I've got this guy who I really know I can help, but he doesn't have any accounting and he doesn't understand why this is important. And I said, really know way to help somebody from there. You have to know where you've been. It's like you can't know where you're going if you don't know what you
Yes.
if you don't know how the choices that you've been making have been creating impact in your business. So this is foundational 101. You have to have a good set of books. You have to invest whatever it takes so that you look at your data and you say, okay, that's what happened last month. I said, anytime we talk about their data and we're spend time and they're saying to me things like, well, we forgot to record this or we didn't do that or what, that's not really true. Like we are wasting time and energy. You're
Yes.
paying me for something that's not useful. So this is
Yes.
game one. Game one, we have good historical data.
So if I can lean in just for a second, because first of all, I want to give you a big high five. It's the first and foremost thing. You got to know your numbers.
You
As a
do.
business owner, you have to. And you have to review your numbers, as in financials, monthly, minimum.
Yes.
I like
Yeah.
to, let's do weekly and do a month to date. How are we coming in? Because if we need to pull certain levers
Mm-hmm.
in order to maybe fill the gap that maybe we're creating? Do we even have a budget? Which I know you're probably getting there, and I'm getting all excited and jazzed up because this is so exciting to me. But please, 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 as business owners, know your numbers, minimum, check on monthly, because it's always easier to fix if something wasn't recorded now instead of at the end of the year because you're not going to remember. Okay, Mackie, I'll get off
Right,
my
right.
high horse, but please continue because this is so amazing. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll talk a little bit about our CFO, fractional CFO system, and then I'll say, what we're doing is we're teaching others across the country again how to use the system. So I'm super excited because every CPA is going to impact a minimum of 10 to 15 people. So I look at this and I said that impact
So
is
much
going to
more.
be exponential.
Yeah.
So let me describe what happens. The first 90 days is transformative. We basically build a whole new widget kind of system for the business owner to step into. We start with something called a Grow Four Ways workshop, where they ideate all their different ideas. And we encourage them to bring their team, because you know, the best ideas, they're the people on the front line. And they have ideas that nobody's ever asked them. And those are often implementable like tomorrow, and they're going to improve your bottom line tomorrow. And then we sort and filter those ideas, because there's going to be a lot of good ones and a lot of not so good ones. And there's some that we can do tomorrow, and then there's some that we need to put in place and we might do in 2 years, but we've got a lot of foundation to build for them. And those are sometimes the things that people are working on now when they need to be working on what they're going to make money with tomorrow. So we sort and filter all that. And then we put together what we call a plan. I never, never, never call it a budget, because a budget to me is like an old-fashioned girdle. Sucks in,
That's
sucks
very
out
fair.
your life, right? And people always go like, "Wow, I'm over the budget." I'm like, what about we develop a plan, and then you live into your plan?
Yes. An
So
action coach, they like to call it an action plan,
an action plan.
because it's all about taking action on the plan. Yes.
Yes, yes.
You have to still shake me upside down and try to get the terminology out of budget, forecast, all the things.
Yeah. So, and we use a tool that I developed called cascading metrics. Because cascading metrics, one of the things I found early on is people would come and ask me as a CPA, would you do a budget for me? Well, it didn't happen very often, but occasionally. And I'd work really hard on it, and I'd give it back to them, and they'd look at it and their eyes would glaze over. And then a few months later, I'd say, how's that going? And they'd say, it didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They weren't connected to the budget. Only I was connected to the budget. So what we do is we break down the big data. There's only really like somewhere between 4 to 5 to 6 numbers that you have to say, here's my flag in the sand. I got to meet these numbers to get my bottom line. Now the details there's more details in all those numbers, but so we call it cascading metrics, because we start at the big numbers and we help the owner connect their thinking to that number. So it's like when they go like, I'm going to do $7 million next year, or I'm going to do $1.5 million next year, or whatever is true in there. I'm going to do $500,000 next year. They have seen from their Grow Four Ways workshop and the historical data that we put together that that's an achievable goal, because we've actually sat down and said, here's where you are, here's the new ideas you're going to implement. And we've shown them, well, if you sell 5 more of these widgets, what does that impact? So they are connected to that data. It's their data. It meets their requirements. So we do the big numbers, and then we say, what does each department have to do to contribute to that? And then what does each individual have to do to connect to that? So yes, we have our monthly data, and we look at our monthly plan when we get to that stage. We also develop weekly data, and we develop weekly metrics that the owner then puts in place, and they report up to us. So we can, before we sit down every month with them to review their financials, we also have their activity data. Usually that's something that someone must do, and we need to track those activities, because those are the activities that create the results, right?
Yes. Yes,
So,
we do the same. Oh,
and then the other little piece, which nobody's very excited about, but we are excited about, is that we do a financial systems analysis. So we look for the ghosts in the closet in the accounting system. And sometimes we find them all, and sometimes we find none, and sometimes we find just a few of them. We find some more later. But the bottom line is we do our best to try to figure out, are we going to spend time talking about wrong data, or are we going to spend our time talking about what really happened? And so we can fix that early on in that first 90 days. And so that really rounds out. And by that time, what's really cool is owners are now totally thinking about their business and their business financials in a different way, because they are connected to those numbers. They're not just some numbers that somebody's showing me and their eyes are glazing over. These are my numbers for my business. And then we go into a rhythm of monthly review and monthly analysis and monthly coaching. I firmly believe that clients have to retain their own agency. You know, I was taught, as you were, I'm sure, Jennifer, that our job as accountants is to give people advice. And how many times do you give people really great advice, and they all, almost before they've had time to sit with it, they say, that won't work in my business, Mackey. And I'm like, huh? We haven't even thought about it. Maybe we could try it out. No, you have hit a
Yes.
roadblock. And I've done a lot of work on brain science. And what I found is this is kind of human. Humans have belief systems that are often unknown to them. And
Yes.
you walk up against those belief systems and you get nowhere. But if you
Mm.
can, one of the reasons we use graphical data is if I can show, and we again connect the dots between, if I make these choices, I get these results, then people can see their own choices and what that's doing in their business. What are the implications for those results, those choices? And then they can say, oh, I connect these dots. Now I am willing to do X, Y, Z. It's often the same thing I would have told them, but now they're going to do it because they get
Yes.
it inside of themselves. Following, we only really follow our own inner wisdom. And I honor that in every individual. And if you can't see it, there isn't any way of me pushing you into it.
Well said. As a coach, the whole reason I became a coach is because you ask questions, they come up with what's going to work for them.
Exactly.
As a consultant, you tell them what to do. I don't know about you, but I don't like being told what to do.
Right. The truth is, human beings don't do well with
No, you can
that.
ask my husband how well that works. It just doesn't. So, asking questions and coaching, not
Mhm.
telling somebody is so instrumental in order to really get us out of our own head so that then we can bust through that ceiling that we ourselves have created.
Right. And real quick, we have system one and system two thinking. Daniel Kahneman, if you like, if you want to be a geeky brain person, wrote a book called, of course, I'm going to forget the name of it, Thinking Fast and Slow. And he said we have system one. System one is our automatic thinking. And when we give people advice, we hit that automatic thinking and we hit up against it. The
Yes.
system two is when we use our analytical brain, and we don't use that very often because it takes a lot more energy. And our brains are lazy. They want to use the least amount of energy. So when we invite the question with a question, we're inviting the analytical brain. We're inviting us to use more energy, but then we're opening to possibility.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. You may see that I do read. Like these are legitimate books. Because you have to. It's also a way of training the brain
Mm-hmm.
to continue to just grow.
Yeah.
And having that lifelong learning is so important as we continue to age and all the fun things.
Yeah, I think so. If you're not addicted to learning, you're kind of addicted to being stuck, I think.
Absolutely. And if you're not learning, you're not growing. And so then, yeah, you're dying, which I hate to say. But so, Mackie, tell me at the CFO Collaborative, how many employees do you have with the CFO Collaborative?
Well, at the moment, I don't have any employees in the CFO Collaborative. I'm looking for an EA. So I'm just hiring my first person. We launched the collaborative last October with 15 CPAs from around the country. And I'm really just focused on getting them all up and successful. And so far, a third of them have clients. They're actually paying them money to do what they were taught to do. And the most important thing for me at the end, it was 4 days of training, and our system isn't just here's some ideas. It is like step one, you do this, you use this tool, you take these actions. And no, when do you ever go to a training that you walk out and this is the thing I'm going to do and this is the tool I'm going to use? You have a lot of work to do when you get back. You will never be implementing something and getting clients with it in 90 days. That's phenomenal. And even the people who haven't yet gotten a paycheck from it are definitely in the conversation and they're making inroads in those ways and they know what they're going to do when they get started. So I'm super excited about what's happening with that. And I don't think I answered your question.
No, you did, because I asked how many employees, and you have 15 CPAs that are going through the course.
Right.
So, when is the next cohort that you're kind of thinking maybe?
The next cohort, I have three options for 2026 because we videoed the last training. So you can start a virtual training on March 15th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. March 15th, of course, no CPAs in public practice will be taking that course, but CFOs who are working for others will be at their first break point. So I have several CFOs who've said to me last October, I want to take the training, but I need to wait till after the 1st of January. So that group will start March 15th, and we'll have check-ins as they go through the virtual course. Then we'll have another virtual course that kicks off May 15th. Again, this will be for people in public practice, people who have CPA firms, because they'll be finished with tax season. And then we'll have another live cohort in August, the last week in August in 2026.
Excellent. I love how you're very strategic about the timing, because in my head I'm like, okay, so September 15th, March 15th, like thinking through all the deadlines.
All the deadlines.
And I haven't done it in a very long time, but it does, it sticks with you. Like you know all the deadlines, March 5th, yeah, April 15th, and all the fun things. So for our beautiful CPAs that are tuned in, how can they be a part of one of these great cohorts? Do they go online? Like, how do they find out more?
Well, if you go to the CFOcollaborative.com, it's a really catchy URL, right? It's the CFOcollaborative.com. You can click on get the book. That'll give you more information. In fact, here's what it'll look like. You'll get it virtually, the Prosperity Playbook. It's my book. It walks through the basic components of all this of the system, so you'll have a good idea of what you'll be signing up for before you sign up, which is a nice way to say you have some reason to believe your investment will pay you back. And that'll tell me that you downloaded the book, and I'll be in touch with you. Or you can just go from there and actually ask for an appointment.
Excellent. So I love this word prosperity. Because there's this other business that you have, the Prosperity People.
Yes.
So tell us, what's Prosperity People?
Well, the Prosperity People is a great business. I started the business. Mackey was started in my 20s. I started the Prosperity People in my 30s. And that was when I was beginning to explore, how do I make a transformational difference for people? And I already knew that I was helping people, but I wasn't really getting those light bulb moments. And a CPA friend of mine said, well, you could be great at financial planning, investment management. You have the gift. And I'm like, what? And they said, that's what business owners really need. So I started an independent RIA. But the truth was that I was in my 30s and my clients were in their 30s and they didn't have much money. But it taught me a lot. I mean, I learned a lot about that process. And I actually wrote another book, this one. This became The Intersection of Joy and Money. I ran around the country speaking about money, individual money. It's actually a workbook. So if you really don't understand your relationship with money, you should pick up The Intersection of Joy and Money. And so I built a planning process around that. So the planning process is very much like our CFO process. The customer retains agency. In other words, we don't tell you what to do in your financial plan. We help you discover what's important for you and how your choices, and connect the dots between what your choices do about impacting your personal financial plan. So people, I think in the end of the day, people need financial confidence. Otherwise, they're worried. Why spend energy on worry? So, the Prosperity People takes away the worry and develops systems, not for us to tell you what to do, for you to discover what's important for you so you can live with financial confidence.
That is so beautiful. Yes, I have clients today that they do worry about financials. But when we first got together, they couldn't even tell me where they were or anything. So now they can start to tell me some of those leading indicators, and it's a beautiful thing, but we're still on that journey because it's not something that you can just flip a switch overnight and it just goes away. Like it's a true whole mindset.
It is.
So how many employees do you have with the Prosperity People?
We outsource our investment management services at this point, and that's a whole team. There's probably 30 in that outsourcing unit, but of course, we're just a piece of what they do. And I was really resistant to that at first, but it's been great because I can get a new investment management team if I want to really, so that gives us a lot more independence from that standpoint. I love that. And then we have about 5 planners and support people in that group. And I didn't answer your question. Let me go back, because there is a specific thing about prosperity for me. Prosperity is time, mind, and money freedom. So I think that we think of it as just about money when we go to see a financial planner. And if that's all your planner is doing for you, I think you're shortcutting yourself. If I hate it when people say, well, my financial planner says it's okay. It just means that you don't know it's okay. I mean, it's not okay if you don't know inside yourself. That's having mind freedom and time freedom. I mean, we trade money and time all day.
Yes.
When do you know if you've traded enough? You might still want to work, but wouldn't you like to know that it's a choice?
Absolutely. And that is the beauty of life.
Yes.
We create what we want it to be. Whether we realize it or not, we have decisions, we have options every single day. And so, really harnessing that can really pull out so many beautiful thoughts. So, we're starting to come up on time, but
Okay.
before I go into some fun rapid fire questions,
Okay.
tell me, Mackie, about Mackie. It's like the flagship, but just briefly, like you started it in your 20s.
I
And
did.
let's start with, first of all, you're in your 20s. Times were very different than what they are
Very.
today.
Uh-huh.
As an accountant, a CPA, and a white female,
Yeah.
like I went through some of this stuff and I was a whole different generation. So I can only imagine, Mackie. So tell me about this beautiful business called Mackie.
Yeah. Right. Well, thanks for asking, Jennifer. I'll give you a quick thumbnail. And Mackey wasn't always a fractional CFO firm. Mackey started as a CPA firm, and the name of the firm was Mackey McNeill Moore CPA. And I came to Northern Kentucky. I knew no one. And that's a great way to start a relationship business, right? So I was pregnant and with my daughter, and I was looking for a job. And my husband kept saying to me, honey, the problem is you're an entrepreneur. I did not see that. Thankfully, he saw that in me. And one day I was out looking for a house, and this guy says, the realtor says to me, can you do blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yes. So I went home, I said, I got my first client. So I got my first check in 1982. And then for the first few years, I was a part-time mom, part-time business owner. I worked out of my home mostly after 9 o'clock at night after I put my daughter to bed. So I bought my first computer. A lot of things, fun things happened. And I built one of the largest CPA firms in Cincinnati. Uh, I was on the top CPA firm list. And a quick story about in that journey. So as I was building that firm, I think that took me about 10 years, which was kind of amazing since I was new. But one of the local CPAs called me during that time, talking about the good old boy network, because I was the only woman. Every time I went anywhere, I was the only woman in the room. And he says to me, Mackie, the guys asked me to call you because they don't think you understand the rules. I'm like, okay. So here's the thing, Mackie, we have a pact that we don't take each other's clients. And I paused and I said, well, I hear that, but my daddy didn't leave me a practice. So the only way I could get business is to get new business. And sometimes it's from you. I'm sorry, but here's the thing. I'm offering something that you're not. My first out of the box differentiator was we call it share controllers, basically fractional controller services. And people were just getting computers. They wanted to use them more. And it was life changing for people. So I politely declined not to join the Good Old Boys Club. And then when I made the top list, I was the only woman on the list, the only first generation firm on the list, and the only one offering fractional CFO services. Now, anybody in town could have done or fractional controller services. Anybody could have done what I was doing, but they chose not to because you get stuck in your rut if you're not careful, So they were stuck in their ruts. So from there, I continued to ask myself, how do I make a transformational difference for clients? And that's when I thought, I've got to go to the next level. And I started working on how to become a fractional CFO for my clients. How do I help them think strategically, make different
Yes.
decisions, make better decisions? Because I got to get out of this loop where I'm telling them what to do and they're saying, I won't work in my business. So
Right.
that's where I started studying brain science and human potential, human personality. And I studied a lot of these, had nothing to think theoretically with money, but had everything to do with having people make a shift from where they are to where their potential is, because I was committed to helping people get to that potential. And, it took me much longer than I thought. I mean, the system that we use now has probably been put together, although we continue to refine it, of course, because we're always
Absolutely.
innovators for the last 5 years. But the core of it has been there, for a while now. And it's been wonderful. It's been a great journey.
So, the best part about this journey is you have successfully, as of January 1st,
Transition this business. Yes, I no longer own Mackey.
which is probably also a little hard to say, but exciting.
It is very exciting. My daughter has been a minority owner for a while now, and she became the CEO last year. And, she checked all the boxes. What can I say? You do the work, you get the pony.
Well, and let's be also very honest. She has put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. She has watched you go through everything you did. It went from one female to another great female.
Yeah, thank you.
And so it's so inspiring to hear this because it's gotten a whole lot better, but still, the world of accounting, especially when you get to the partner or executive level,
Yes,
there still aren't many women at that level, still
there
today.
are not. And they're not. And investment management world is the same. And
Yes.
I encourage young women all the time. If you're a young woman listening to this, please consider studying finance or accounting. I've talked to a young woman, what are you studying? Marketing. What are you studying? Human resources. What are you studying? Like, we have to get over our fear of money. We
Yes.
we can't own our power if we don't own our
Yes.
power with money.
Yes. My daughter, she is dancing in Manhattan and she's on her way to become a professional. The number one thing I always talk to her about is money and making sure she understands her financials. Because once she lands that job and she's a 1099 or whatever,
Mhm.
she is her own business.
Yeah.
So not only does she have to do the marketing for her own brand, she'll have to do her own financials and understand her cash flow and how am I forecasting that, all the things, and strategically, where do I want to be and where am I going?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And she's a dancer.
Yeah.
So it's so super important. I can't agree with you more.
Mhm.
So, Mackie, where do you see these wonderful, beautiful businesses 5 years from now? What do they look like?
Well, the prosperity people, I'm sure in 5 years from now, will be run by somebody besides me. They'll be, in terms of ownership, and I'm sure I will have divested my ownership in them as well. I have two minority owners in that firm today, and I'm actively seeking the right person, be that active. I need someone who's a little more visionary. I've got great people who are taking care of the business, but I'm looking for that mix of talent. Um, and the CFO collaborative, I am sure that they'll be the right person to take it over at some point. I don't know, probably 5 years from now, I'll still be working in it. I absolutely love it. I mean, thrilled about it. I don't have an ageism. Actually, that's not true. I had to face a lot of ageism to decide to start this business again at this point in my life. But I am a person that believes you can come past your own limitations. And so I feel like I don't believe that we have when you get to this age, you have to do this, you just should do that. I
Correct.
believe that I should, we all should, not should, we have the choice. All have fundamental choice. And as long as I'm loving it, providing value, making a difference, that's what
Yes.
I'm all about. So why would I quit?
Right.
And so, I think it'll find its place.
Well, and it keeps you young and it
Hmm.
keeps you involved and your mind nice and healthy and it keeps you moving forward.
Absolutely.
And yes, you have never been one to fit into those boxes of ageism or sexism or all the things. So I absolutely love it. And thank you for being you.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right.
Jennifer.
So as we start to come up at the end of time,
Okay.
because I could talk to you all day. It's so fun. But I have a couple rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. What is the key to success for you?
Tapping into my inner wisdom. Whenever I'm confused, I don't need to ask anybody else. I need to sit down, be quiet, and listen to my own truth.
Ooh, thinking time.
Mhm.
Something that we do not put on the calendar enough. Love it. So, what is your one piece of advice that you would offer to other business owners?
For business owners, I would say my most biggest advice is don't settle. Don't, people get attached to their CPA. And I think it's wonderful to trust others, find someone you can trust. But when you say, I trust them, and then I ask you, well, do you understand what they're saying? And the answer is no, that's not enough. You need
Right.
to not only trust, you need to understand. Your answers have to come from your inner wisdom about your business choices and about your financial choices, or you're not
Yes,
empowered. Be empowered with your money. Don't settle.
absolutely. So, what is a book or a podcast that you're reading or listening to right now?
It was a great book. I was just in Santa Fe. I did a bunch of different things. I spent some time with myself and the Ojo Caliente. And then I went to the Modern Elder Academy with my EO group. And we went to see the horses, and somebody gave me this fabulous book, which it made no sense to me. Flying Lead Change. I don't know if you're a horse person. I am not a horse person. So when I looked at that, I'm like, what's a flying lead change? It turns out it's a move that a horse makes when it's in midair and it completely shifts its gait. So we
Oh,
go from one gait to another. But this book is what I love about it is full of horse wisdom. Horses are actually the third longest living organism on the planet. 56 million years they've been around, much longer than humans. So they have a lot to teach us, but also filled with indigenous wisdom. And I love indigenous wisdom. It's very nature connected wisdom. And I think there's so much we have to learn from indigenous people that we, as Westerners, haven't always been accepting of. So there's a lot of wisdom packed in here. And I am just loving it, loving it, loving it. It's by Kelly Windorf, Blind Lead Change. Can't recommend it enough.
awesome. And thank you for sharing. I'll definitely have to go and get that. I did not know that about horses, even though I've known and I've seen like the wild horses and everything. I just think they're so majestic and
Hmm.
gorgeous. And of course, living here in Kentucky and
Yeah.
our passion for horses, they are such incredible animals. So,
Yeah. And
um,
they're matriarchal. There's usually a woman who runs the group. So.
that is not surprising.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right,
Mhm.
so here's a fun kind of question for you.
Uh-huh.
If you had a little bit of magic dust that you could sprinkle on one spot of the business, what would it be?
Oh, that is such a good question. I don't know what magic dust I would have, other than I think I would fill up all of my cohorts in 2026 because it's so amazing. It's so amazing when I talk to these CPAs and they tell me what they're doing and they tell me the clients they're working with and I see what the impact they're having. Like, wow, I love it. It fills me up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I love that you're taking CPAs to be more empowering and to take them to a whole nother level. So thank you for that.
yeah, well, thank you for it's been a great journey.
Oh,
Thanks for
I can
recognizing
only
it, Jennifer.
imagine all the intricacies of your journey. So before we get to the final question of the day, share with our audience how they can get in touch with you, follow you, learn more, and if they so choose, contact you.
Yeah. Well, you can go to MackeyMcNeill.com and there's a little short bio there. You can go to the CFOcollaborative.com, download your own version of the Prosperity Playbook. You can actually go to MackeyAdvisors.com, and at MackeyAdvisors.com, you can download a free copy of The Intersection of Joy and Money and a whole lot of other tools. Like if you go to the resources page at MackeyAdvisors.com, it's full of all kinds of good stuff. So, and you can contact me from there on any of those sites.
Excellent. So, everyone, go to those websites, start downloading and enjoy these wonderful books because you'll be securing your future now and save a quarter every day so that then it'll pay you back in dividends.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, awesome. So, our final question for the day
Mhm.
is what is most inspiring to you today?
Oh, it's what's most inspiring for me every day is the people I work with. When I talked to one of our new CFO collaborative members yesterday in North Carolina. And we're talking about she's got her first prospect meeting next Tuesday, and just helping her think that through and walk through it and seeing her again, she's expanding. She's such a gifted human. And so seeing people take on that possibility, I could do that all day long. I'd never get tired of it.
That is so awesome. Well, this was a great conversation. Not that I had any doubt. So I'm super blessed and very proud to have you as a feature here on the Journey Success Stories podcast and to share your vision, thoughts, and where's tomorrow going with our listeners. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I sure appreciate you having me. You're a great hostess.
Oh, thank you so
Or
much.
host. It's probably not hostess anymore, is it?
So, of course, I encourage all of you who have logged in and are watching this today, save the show, come back to it, watch it again and again, because there were some really great book recommendations, websites to go download, and even resources to tap into. So, the amount of great insights for Mackey and her businesses at the CFO Collaborative, the prosperity people, and Mackey is just so, it's amazing. So, of course, if you have not yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but definitely like and subscribe so you can get notifications every time we have a new conversation like this one drop. And of course, thank you for joining. And most of all, thank you, Mackey, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. It's been a
Thanks.
delight.
Appreciate you.